I have named the beast Iguanodon. The Iguanodon if not exceeded, the Megalosaurus in magnitude. For if the recent and fossil animal bore the same relative proportions, the tooth must have belonged to an individual upwards of 60 feet long.
All his hunches had been right. His detractors had been wrong.
I shall ride on the back of my Iguanodon into the Temple of Immortality. Dr. Mantell.
Mantell had fought for recognition for 10 years. With masterly insight, he had established his supremacy as the discoverer of the prehistoric world, and all the while working as a country doctor.
At last, I had the blue ribbon of science. It was with no small degree of pleasure that I placed my name in the charter book, which contained those of Sir Christopher Wren, Sir Isaac Newton, and other great men of science.
But in the same year that he triumphed at the Royal Society, Mantell's nemesis arrived in London, in the shape of a young man from the provinces, come to seek his fortune as a surgeon. Like Mantell, Richard Owen was from humble origins, the son of a Lancashire draper, but there the similarity ended. Owen had attended grammar school, and at Edinburgh he had trained as an anatomist. 15 years Mantell's junior, Owen was fiercely ambitious. Armed with impeccable letters of introduction, he quickly became assistant to William Clift at the Hunterian Museum, placing himself at the heart of London's medical elite. In only a few years, he was to rise to the highest echelons of society and scoop the credit for discovering the dinosaurs, without ever once stepping into a quarry.
Dr. Owen!
The ambitious anatomist from the provinces had a gift for being in the right place at the right time.
Clift? Miss Clift? Miss Clift? Can you hear me? Excuse the familiarity. I was hoping to recall you to consciousness.
You have succeeded.
Please, keep still a moment. Can you sense your arms and extremities?
Oh, yes.
I think all will be well.
Thank you.
They were engaged within the year. He was now connected to one of London's foremost scientific families. He soon became Clift's chief assistant at the Hunterian, and his obvious successor. In 1833, Buckland was commissioned by the Anglican Church to write the Bridgewater Treatise, a text dedicated to reconciling the growing conflict between science and religion. It was an honor, but he had already abandoned hope of finding geological evidence of the flood. Now, to explain Genesis, he was developing an elaborate theory of 6 epochs, each lasting thousands of years, as God perfected the world for man. Already, he was convoluting science to fit Scripture. It was a study that would eventually send him mad. In that same year, Mantell moved his family and medical practice to Brighton. It was here that he hoped to find a patron for his scientific work and a wider audience for his extraordinary discoveries.
In Brighton, there is a larger field for my professional engagements and a chance of being able to turn my successes to some account. I am resolved to make every possible effort to obtain the rank in society to which I feel I am entitled both by my education and my profession.
But within 6 years, he would fail in his profession, suffer the loss of his precious collections, and face the ruin of his domestic happiness. Owen's rise to power would continue. There would be glory and royal patronage. He would name the dinosaurs and found London's Natural History Museum before his final catastrophic fall from grace. As the dinosaur hunters moved into the Victorian world of commerce and empire, each one would be destroyed by their obsession.
The story concludes tomorrow at the same time, 5 to 8. Deborah Cadbury's book, The Dinosaur Hunters, is available in paperback for £7.99. Order it by calling 0870 1234 344 or click on to channel4.com.
Georgian England in the 1830s was a country on the brink of change. The dinosaur hunters were forging into new, forbidden territory, uncovering the secrets of the Earth's past. In 1834, Gideon Mantell, a country doctor from Lewes in Sussex, had become one of the great scientific celebrities of the age. He had revealed to an astonished world that giant reptiles had once inhabited England, in a prehistoric time before the existence of man, challenging the very foundation of belief in God, creation, and the Bible. He had abandoned the rural existence and was beginning a new life with his family in Brighton.
You'd be very happy here.
It was still widely believed that God had created the world in 7 days, as described in the book of Genesis, and that all life had been swept away in the Great Flood. The work of the dinosaur hunters would reveal a truth that would change the world forever. Mantell had fought for recognition for 15 years. A provincial doctor without a university education, he had battled against social and academic prejudice to become Britain's foremost dinosaur hunter. Brighton was a magnet for royalty, aristocracy, and the rich. The Royal Pavilion was less than 10 years old, and in its wake the town had become the most fashionable place in Britain. There was money here, the prospect of rich patients, generous patrons, and a discerning audience for his extraordinary discoveries. He had opened a fossil museum, a costly and ambitious project financed by local businessmen.
Dr. and Mrs. Gideon Mantell.
Chief among them, the socialite Horatio Smith.
Columbus of the subterranean world, star of geology, whose rays enlighten what nature to her darkest depths had hurled.
When my museum opened, hundreds of the nobility and gentry flocked through the door. All the principal persons in Brighton called upon me and invited me to their houses. My society was courted by the fashionables. In fact, I was the lion of the season.
How do you do? How do you do?
Among the other dinosaur hunters competing for glory was the Reverend William Buckland, Oxford geologist and priest, a man who stood for both science and God. He had named the first prehistoric land reptile and had originally opposed Mantell's vision. He was now trying to reconcile the conflict between the monsters of prehistory and the biblical account of creation. It was to cost him his sanity. He had a new ally, the ambitious young anatomist Richard Owen, a rising star in the scientific establishment. Still only 30, Owen had already aligned himself with the conservatives of church and science by prophesying that the study of anatomy would reveal the works of God.
The young and ambitious Owen.
Thy rebuke, O God of Jacob, both chariot and horse have fallen.
How ambitious, I did not yet realize. I had no reason to suspect his unlined face and charming manner.
I had no idea Dr. Mantell had such a flair for showmanship.
Within a short time, Owen would challenge Mantell's preeminence in the field of fossil reptiles.